Finland and Eastern Europe, a DNA link no historian expected. Finland, a land of endless forests, silent lakes frozen under the long northern winters, a place often imagined as isolated, removed from the flow of European history. Eastern Europe, in contrast, has long been remembered as a crossroads, a region shaped by migrations, empires, invasions, and kingdoms rising and falling. Slavic expansions, Viking incursions, Mongol raids, borders constantly redrawn. Historians have assumed these regions were largely separate. Their peoples followed different paths, their languages diverged, their cultures evolved independently. But DNA remembers what history forgets. In laboratories spanning continents, the University of Helsinki, Harvard Medical School, and the David Reich Lab, scientists began to uncover a startling genetic pattern, a connection linking Finland and Eastern Europe, a connection that predates Vikings, that predates medieval trade routes, a connection buried thousands of years in our very genomes. This is a story of shared ancestry stretching across time, a story invisible to maps and chronicles, but written in blood, bone, and the quiet code of DNA. The breakthrough studies. The revelation emerged from the revolution in ancient DNA research. By the late 2010s, technological breakthroughs made it possible to extract and sequence DNA from skeletal remains thousands of years old, even fragments previously considered unusable, teeth, ear bones, or fragments from graves buried deep in peat bogs could now reveal entire genomes. In 2020, Dr. David Reich and his team at Harvard Medical School partnered with Finnish geneticists from the University of Helsinki to sequence over 1,200 ancient genomes spanning Northern and Eastern Europe. These included samples from Bronze Age Finland, Iron Age Baltic populations, and medieval Russia. The results were astonishing. Finnish populations, ancient and modern alike, carried genetic markers previously thought to be unique to Eastern European groups. These markers trace back 3,000 to 4,000 years, long before Vikings, trade routes, or written history. Professor Samuli Hele remarked, "This is a deep ancestral connection that history has overlooked. It challenges everything we thought about the movement of peoples in Northern Europe." To understand why this is so remarkable, we must examine Finland's DNA. Modern Finns are famous among geneticists for their distinct heritage, shaped by centuries of isolation, harsh climates, and repeated population bottlenecks. Key features include Y chromosome haplogroup N1C, unique to Northern Eurasia, mitochondrial DNA, adapted to low-light environments, and gene variants for cold tolerance, metabolism, and immune response. For decades, this uniqueness suggested isolation, that Finns were an island in a sea of European populations. But ancient DNA tells a different story. Bronze Age excavations in southern Finland revealed skeletal remains carrying ancestry shared with modern Estonia, Latvia, and Western Russia. Dr. Kristina Tombets explains, these patterns indicate long-term gene flow, not isolated settlement. Finnish populations were interacting genetically with Eastern Europe thousands of years ago. Even in frozen northern valleys, rivers and lakes acted as highways for human movement. Survival demanded cooperation. Communities exchanged not only goods, but genes. Eastern Europe's DNA, the reciprocal story. The picture became clearer when scientists examined Eastern European DNA. Populations from Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Western Russia carried markers that aligned closely with ancient Finnish populations. Some lineages predated the formation of modern states, even independent ethnic identities. Dr. Reich noted, this is not a minor overlap, it's a deep, persistent genetic link spanning millennia. The overlap is strongest along river systems and the Gulf of Finland, natural corridors connecting north and east. Waterways were more than transport routes, they were channels of life, culture, and ancestry. Neolithic connections, the first networks. 6,000 years ago, farming spread across Europe. Northern populations retained a mix of hunter-gatherer and early agricultural economies longer than southern regions. DNA reveals that people moved along rivers and coasts, not in sudden migrations, but in slow, multi-generational waves. Evidence of shared ancestry is supported by material culture, pottery styles, tools, and ornaments found in both Finland and Eastern Europe show striking similarities. The Max Planck Institute confirms that this was not a single event, but a continuous genetic network spanning centuries. The Bronze Age, metal, movement, and mixing. During the Bronze Age, trade networks expanded. Metal, amber, furs, and salt moved along rivers connecting Finland to the east. Ancient DNA shows a steady blending of northern and eastern lineages during this period. Marriages between communities strengthened these connections. Families migrated seasonally. Children inherited the genetic legacy of both regions. Dr. Tombetz remarks, the Bronze Age was not just a technological revolution, it was a genetic one. The medieval era, history catches up. By the medieval period, records appear, trade intensified, wars erupted, kingdoms expanded and collapsed. Yet ancient DNA shows remarkable continuity. Despite historical turmoil, these genetic connections endured. Professor Hele observes, even dramatic historical events leave surprisingly little genetic disruption when viewed over thousands of years. Trade, intermarriage, shared survival strategies maintained these ancient bonds. DNA tells a story historians could not fully capture. Modern DNA confirmation. When modern populations are sequenced, the pattern persists. Northern Finns retain measurable Eastern European ancestry. Estonians and Western Russians retain Northern Finnish components. Shared immune adaptations, metabolic traits, and cold tolerance genes remain. These findings show 3,500 plus years of continuous genetic connection. This proves that Finland and Eastern Europe are more than neighbors, they are ancient relatives. Why scientists were shocked? Historians assumed Finland was peripheral, isolated until Viking and later trade routes. Genetics tells a different story. Gene flow predates Vikings by millennia. Populations were interconnected despite apparent isolation. Traditional history underestimated the scale of Northern European networks. Dr. Reich summarizes, Northern Europe was never disconnected. Our models underestimated human mobility and interaction. Implications, rethinking Europe. Modern borders are recent. DNA is ancient. Finland and Eastern Europe are ancient relatives, their story encoded in genomes spanning thousands of years. History may forget, but DNA remembers. A silent testament to shared journeys, survival, and connection across the centuries. Research institutions and leaders. University of Helsinki, Samuli Hele, Christina Tombetz. Harvard Medical School, David Reich Lab, Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology.